What connected all the women found across different neighborhoods of Paris? No one could figure it out for nearly 7 years. In the early 1990s, people in the eastern neighborhoods of Paris started noticing a disturbing pattern. Young women were disappearing, or worse, found dead under mysterious circumstances. These incidents mainly happened around the Bastille metro station and in the surrounding 10th and 11th arrondissements, areas filled with apartment buildings, narrow streets, and small alleyways. The perpetrator had a terrifying skill, blending seamlessly into the crowd. He often posed as an ordinary homeless man or squatter, charming and seemingly harmless. Friends and neighbors described him as quiet, sometimes singing or strumming a guitar, completely masking the darkness beneath. Every new disappearance ratcheted up fear, but the police couldn't see the connection between the cases. Officially, there were 7 victims, ages ranging from 19 to 33. By 1997, Paris was gripped by panic. The media dubbed the unknown murderer the Beast of Bastille, and women stopped walking alone. Most attacks happened on streets, near apartment entrances, and along commonly used paths. Timeline of incidents: January 24, 1991. A 19-year-old woman found on a small side street in the 11th arrondissement. January 7, 1994. A 27-year-old woman discovered on a sidewalk near Bastille. November 8, 1994. A 22-year-old woman killed in the doorway of an apartment building in the 10th arrondissement. December 9, 1994. A 32-year-old woman found in a quiet residential alley. July 8, 1995. A 27-year-old woman left on a deserted road between 2 side streets in the 10th arrondissement. September 23, 1997. A 19-year-old woman found in a park area near a busy street. November 16, 1997. A 25-year-old woman discovered on a walking path near a residential block. Most attacks happened late at night or early in the morning, from 11 to 5, when the streets were nearly empty. This pattern suggested careful planning to minimize the risk of witnesses. The attacks were so quiet and calculated that many victims didn't even realize what was happening until it was too late. Police soon noticed repeating elements. The victims were mostly young women alone, often heading home or walking down quiet streets. The unknown attacker didn't just attack, he hunted, stalking victims until the very door of their apartments. He struck at the most vulnerable moment, when a woman was fumbling for her keys or opening her door. In that instant, her attention was elsewhere, and he struck from behind in a flash. Each crime left behind tiny clues and almost no witnesses. Some survivors' testimony became critical to the investigation. One woman gave such a detailed description that police were able to create a composite sketch. Attack sites included streets, doorways, and park areas, places rarely frequented by others. Patterns in his behavior eventually allowed detectives to link all the cases to a single individual, though his identity remained unknown. Investigators realized that without a scientific approach, they'd never connect the dots. The investigation started soon after the first incident, but in the early 1990s, most cases were treated as isolated events. From 1991 to 1997, police collected evidence, biological samples, from crime scenes. At that time, DNA analysis was just starting to be used, and it took years for police to recognize that even a single drop of blood could reveal the perpetrator. Every fingerprint, every shoe print, every drop of blood became a piece of the puzzle if it was matched correctly. Witness accounts, reports of suspicious people, and shoe prints were all part of police work, along with night patrols, psychological profiling, and painstaking manual DNA comparison. Years before national databases existed, early DNA matches confirmed links between incidents, but the lack of a centralized system slowed the investigation. In the early stages, police missed patterns that could have stopped the killer much sooner. Early on, the investigation faced challenges, large gaps between attacks, inconsistent witness descriptions, and scattered incidents. Police could have ended the nightmare earlier. In 1995, they had a DNA sample from the perpetrator from one attack, but without a national database, there was nothing to compare it to. Every panicked description of the suspect made it harder to focus on one person. Some attacks occurred while the suspect was technically in police custody. He had short-term leaves for good behavior and used them to strike again. These factors meant the cases remained disconnected for years. His early aggressive acts seemed random, but they were early warning signs. The future killer was born in France in the early 1960s. His father left the family, and his mother struggled to provide stability. He spent much of his childhood in foster care, constantly moving between homes. Psychiatrists later labeled him a narcissistic psychopath. His charm, playing guitar, singing, being the life of the party, was just a mask for his need for total control and lack of empathy. A troubled family life and frequent changes in his environment left a mark on his psyche. By his teenage years, he already showed aggressive behavior, documented by police. 1976 and 1978, attempted strangulation of foster sisters. February 1979, attack on a young girl. May 1980, stabbing a girl in the face. 1981 to 1984, a series of assaults on women. These incidents showed a clear escalation, leading to his future crimes. When DNA finally matched, police could see what had eluded them. For years, all cases were connected to one person. By 1997, years of DNA comparisons confirmed that all attacks were committed by one man. Investigators finally had a clear profile. Movement patterns, behavioral habits, and methods linked every incident. His identity, however, remained officially undisclosed to the public at that time. This discovery was a turning point. Decades of police work finally made sense in a single individual. The investigative team could now track his routine and predict potential risks, but the final breakthrough, his actual name, was still to come. Finally, the man, who had only been whispered about in fear, was caught on the streets of Paris. The suspect was arrested on March 26, 1998, in Paris. The trial lasted several weeks, with around 50 witnesses and 15 forensic experts. He initially denied guilt, but mounting evidence and forensic proof left little room for defense. The trial became not just a legal proceeding, but a test of science and justice in action. In the courtroom, he eventually confessed to all 7 murders. The world waited for the name that had been hidden in fear and speculation. This case changed how police handle serial crimes forever. Finally, the killer's identity was revealed. Guy Georges, later called the Beast of Bastille. The Guy Georges case became a landmark for French forensics. Its main legacy was the creation of the FNAEG, the French National Automated DNA Database. The case prompted the government in 1998 to pass a law creating a nationwide DNA database, uniting the data of all criminal offenders in the country. Today, investigators worldwide use lessons from this case to solve similar crimes faster. The database was literally built on the blood of Georges' victims, ensuring that criminals could no longer hide behind bureaucratic delays. His investigation showed that methodical work, scientific analysis, and attention to detail can uncover the truth even years later. Today, Guy Georges remains incarcerated at the Insisheim Central House. Although eligible for parole, his requests have been repeatedly denied. Psychiatrists warn that his urge to kill remains uncured, ensuring that the Beast of Bastille will likely never see freedom again.